Today, we're getting into something huge, something that's going to reshape, well, the whole financial landscape for years to come. The future of family wealth. You've probably heard about this great wealth transfer, right? We're talking an estimated $84 trillion changing hands in the U.S. alone by 2045. Wealth moving from boomers and the silent generation to their heirs. It's just a massive number. But here's the kicker, the stat that really makes you stop and think. 90% of family wealth built up over years is typically gone by the third generation.
That's right. 9 out of 10 families. It's staggering.
It really is. It's not just, a small problem. It feels like a pattern, almost inevitable for so many. So the big question for us, and really for you listening, is why? Why does this keep happening? And maybe more importantly, how can you beat those odds? How do you build a legacy that actually lasts, that means something beyond just 1 or 2 generations? So today, we're doing a deep dive. We're looking at insights from top estate planning experts like Andrew Howell and David York. They wrote Entrusted, building a legacy that lasts. And we're pulling from other sources, too, looking for a fresh take, a more holistic view on this whole wealth transfer and legacy thing.
Yeah, and it's really important to frame this right from the start.
Right.
This isn't just about spreadsheets and financial instruments, not the traditional view. What we're exploring is honestly a pretty revolutionary way to think about legacy.
Yeah.
It flips the script. It's less about prepping the money for the family.
Right.
And much more about preparing the family for the money, for the wealth. It's about focusing on what actually empowers the next generation, turning them into, stewards, not just spenders.
Okay, so that 90% figure is just stark. Let's unpack the traditional approach, then. What's been going wrong? The experts we looked at have this pretty blunt term for it, the dump, divide, defer, and dissipate model.
Mm-hmm. A 40s.
Yeah, the 40s. It already sounds like, well, not a great strategy. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means pretty much what it sounds like, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's been the default for a long time. Assets often just get dumped onto the next generation, maybe with some basic instructions, but not much real guidance or preparation.
Okay.
Then the assets are usually divided, often strictly equally among the kids, which sounds fair, but doesn't always consider individual needs or, frankly, capabilities.
Right. Circumstances differ.
Exactly. Then there's a huge focus on deferring taxes. Lots of complex legal and financial maneuvers to push tax burdens down the road.
Which makes sense on paper, I guess.
Well, yes, but the ultimate result, far too often, is that the wealth gets dissipated. It just vanishes within a generation or two. The authors use this great analogy. Imagine you build this amazing roaring campfire. Then, instead of teaching people how to gather wood and tend the fire, you just chop up the burning logs and hand them out equally.
Yeah, I see.
You expect everyone to somehow keep their log burning, transport it, maybe even start a new fire with it. It just doesn't work. The focus is all on dividing the result. The fire not sharing the knowledge and tools, the flint and kindling needed to create and sustain it.
That really clicks. And you see the destructive impact clearly.
Yeah.
It explains that 90% statistic. It's not just theory. It's real families, real wealth disappearing.
Yeah.
The sources mention Cornelius Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah, a classic example.
One of the richest people on earth when he died. A genuine tycoon. But just 100 years later.
100 years later, not one millionaire among his hundreds of descendants. It's a cautionary tale. And what's really interesting, maybe concerning, is why this traditional model fails so often. It's usually not because the financial planning was bad, or the tax strategies were wrong, or the legal documents weren't sound.
So what is it then?
It fundamentally comes down to overlooking the why and the who, the purpose behind the wealth, and the people, the family members, inheriting it. This traditional approach, it's kind of myopic. It focuses purely on the mechanics of money, the fire, and forgets the flinting kindling, the values, the skills, the communication, the trust. That's where the real breakdown happens. It's a human issue at its core.
Okay, so the old way is broken, focused on the wrong things. Where do we go from here? It sounds like we need a fundamental shift in how we even think about legacy. And this is where, like you said, it gets really interesting. The research, the experts we looked at, they all seem to agree. Legacy is way, way bigger than just the bank account.
Absolutely. That's the core shift. David York lays out these 5 essential truths of legacy that really help redefine it. The first one is huge. Legacy is more than money. We get so fixated on the financial assets, But what truly lasts, York argues, it's things like our passions, our actions, our words, our values, and something he calls human capital.
Human capital, what does that encompass?
It's the non-financial stuff. Experiences, skills, knowledge, resilience, work ethic, and what the authors call narrative wisdom. Basically, the stories, the lessons learned, the way we lived our lives, that's often the most valuable inheritance.
So it's the life lessons, the grit, the values demonstrated through living. That feels profoundly different from just, what number did they leave behind? Okay, what's the second truth?
Second, legacy is not neutral. We like to think of legacy as this positive thing we leave, but it can be positive or negative. A legacy can include patterns of addiction, for instance, or unhealthy communication styles, or unresolved family conflicts. These can be just as impactful, sometimes more so, than any financial inheritance.
That's sobering. We're always leaving something, good or bad, whether we plan it or not, which probably connects to the next one.
It does. Truth number 3. Legacy is not optional. You can't just opt out. Like it or not, your life impacts others. Every choice, every relationship, every value you live out, it all contributes to the story, the legacy you leave behind. Fourth, and this is actually encouraging, people are more legacy-minded today. There seems to be a beneficial shift happening. People are thinking beyond just inheritance, more towards the broader idea of impact. They're recognizing how emotional, social, spiritual, and financial aspects all weave together. People want their lives to, mean something more than just their net worth.
That's good to hear, sort of collective awakening, maybe. And the fifth truth.
The fifth one is really powerful, full of hope. Legacies can be changed. Your past or your family's past doesn't have to define the future legacy. The example given is John Newton.
Oh, right. Amazing Grace.
Exactly. Born in 1725, started out as, frankly, a rebellious sailor involved in the horrific slave trade. But he went through this profound personal transformation, studied theology, became an abolitionist, and at 48 wrote that incredible hymn. His life just shows you can consciously choose to change course, to reshape your impact, and leave a radically different legacy.
Amazing. So putting this all together, for you listening, it means legacy isn't just passive. It's about actively, consciously designing the impact you want to have. It's way beyond just drafting a will.
Precisely. And that's where this entrusted model comes in. It's designed as a holistic approach. It puts meaningful relationships right at the center. The goal is to align the family's core values, that human capital, with the tangible assets. It's about preparing beneficiaries to be true stewards, caretakers, growers of the resources, not just consumers. The focus shifts to transferring opportunities, building capabilities, fostering purpose across generations, not just handing over assets.
That sounds like a much more resilient and, frankly, meaningful approach. So, okay, people are listening, they're buying into this idea, moving past the old 4Ds. How do they actually do it? What are the practical steps to build this? What did the sources call it? A riveted estate plan.
Yeah, riveted. The metaphor itself is powerful. Think about rivets on a bridge, right? They're the permanent fasteners holding the whole structure together.
Okay.
In this model, values are the rivets. They're what connect the financial capital, the money, and the human capital, the people, skills, stories. They literally hold the structure of a multi-generational legacy together, giving it strength and endurance.
Values as rivets. I like that. So how do you install these rivets? What's step 1?
Step 1, draft a design. This is the foundational work. It involves, first, really identifying and capturing that human capital in your family. What are the key experiences, the skills, the narrative wisdom? And then, crucially, establishing shared values. When a family actually sits down and articulates, okay, what do we stand for, what's truly important to us together, that process itself creates incredible power and cohesion. It gives everyone a common purpose. Krista Dos Santos, another expert, talks about creating a family mission statement as a great tool for this. It clarifies purpose, goals, what you're all working towards.
That makes sense. Getting everyone on the same page about the why. Okay, design drafted. What's next?
Step 2, construct the towers.
What?
Plural. You need to build 2 strong towers.
Yeah.
The parents' tower and the children's or future generations' tower.
Towers, explain that.
For the parents' tower, it's about sharing that narrative wisdom we talked about, and not just the shiny parts. Share the struggles, the mistakes, the financial worries you overcame, the sheer hard work it took. The whole story, warts and all.
Okay, be vulnerable.
Yes. And for the children's tower, you need to actively listen to them. Draw out their hopes, their fears, their passions. What are their biggest challenges? Where do they feel they need guidance or insight? It's about building that two-way understanding deeply.
That really emphasizes preparing the family for the wealth, doesn't it? It's not just a one-way street. Okay, so we have the design, we have the towers, now the bridge.
Exactly. Step 3, build a bridge. This is critical for connecting the generations. Kids and grandkids need to know what to expect, and, just as importantly, what not to expect. Clarity is key to avoiding entitlement or resentment down the line.
How do you build that bridge?
Open discussion, active listening. Let the conversations wander sometimes. Pull the core values out of the family stories you share. And honestly, sometimes bring in a neutral third party, like a family coach or facilitator, can be incredibly helpful here. They can guide those sometimes tricky but absolutely vital conversations. And then, step 4, improve the structure. This isn't a one-and-done deal. Legacy planning isn't a document you sign and file away. It needs constant upkeep, like maintaining the Golden Gate Bridge, they say.
Right, it's an ongoing.
Yeah, the estate plan, the family conversations, everything needs to continually connect the dots between the family's values, which might evolve over time, and how the assets are being used. It means consciously checking in. Are our values still aligned? Do we need to patch any holes, maybe adopt new values that resonate with the next generation? It's a living, breathing process.
It sounds like a lot more work, honestly, than the traditional model, but also infinitely more rewarding if it works. It's dynamic family governance, not just static planning.
That's a great way to put it. And you see this reflected in other frameworks too, like David York's 4P model for preparing children for wealth. The pillars are purpose, participation, preparation, and perspective.
Okay, briefly, what do those mean?
Purpose is about helping kids find their own why, aligning it with family values. Participation means involving them early in decisions, maybe family philanthropy or understanding investment basics. Gives them ownership.
Makes sense.
Preparation is about real skills, financial literacy, maybe business basics, understanding stewardship, not just handing over the keys. And perspective is crucial, helping them see wealth not just as something to consume, but as a tool, a responsibility, a means for impact.
So it's about building that internal capacity, that compass for handling wealth responsibly.
Exactly. And you see this historically. Think about the Rothschilds. Their strategy often involved opportunity transfer. They were more likely to loan money to family members for ventures, expecting repayment, expecting results.
So not just giving handouts.
Right. It fostered accountability, entrepreneurship, a real understanding of value generation, which is, the polar opposite of just dumping assets and hoping for the best. It's about empowering action.
This all raises a really big, almost philosophical question, though, one that a lot of people wrestle with. Is inherited wealth ultimately a good thing? Is it powerful or is it potentially destructive? We've sort of touched on both sides.
It's definitely not a simple answer. As one expert put it, the answer is probably yes, it depends. Warren Buffett had that famous line in Fortune magazine, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, about leaving his kids enough money.
Right. Enough money so that they would feel they could do anything, but not so much that they could do nothing. That nails the paradox, I think.
It really does. Explain that paradox a bit more.
Well, think about it. People who create wealth often value it immensely because they know the sacrifice involved, the hard work, the risk, the stress, the sleepless nights. It costs them something real.
Sure.
But inherited wealth can, paradoxically, allow the inheritors to avoid all of that. It can shield them from the very experiences that build character, resilience, and purpose. So the wealth itself can sometimes undercut the very qualities needed to manage it wisely and preserve it. If you don't need to strive, it's easy to become, rudderless.
Which loops back beautifully to that ancient wisdom, doesn't it? King Solomon, 3,000 years ago.
Incredible how relevant it still is. Proverbs. Give me neither riches nor poverty, but only my daily bread.
Such a profound insight. If you have nothing, it's hard to even start, hard to get in the game. But if you have too much, maybe?
You don't even need to play, as the saying goes. It highlights the importance of balance, of purpose, of having just enough challenge, perhaps.
So wrapping this all up, the core insight from this deep dive seems clear. The future of legacy, true lasting legacy, isn't just about shuffling financial assets around efficiently.
No, not at all.
It's about something much deeper. It's the intentional, holistic transfer of values, of wisdom, of stories, of opportunities, all aimed at genuinely empowering the next generation, helping them thrive, contribute, and build something meaningful themselves.
Yeah, if you connect it to that bigger picture, it really becomes about consciously shaping not just what you leave behind the stuff, but who you leave behind. It's about helping your heirs understand their own purpose, their role as stewards, giving them that flint and kindling so they can build their own fires of purpose and contribution, not just inheriting a pile of logs that will eventually burn out.
So for you listening, maybe the question to ponder after this deep dive is this. What's your family's unique flint and kindling? What are those core values, those key stories, those formative experiences that you want to make sure aren't just remembered, but are actively passed down? The things you hope will spark generations of purpose, contribution, and lasting stewardship long after you're gone. Something definitely worth exploring for yourself and your family. How can you start building those bridges, sharing that wisdom today?